There are still many unanswered questions in the Christopher Dorner case, and it doesn't help that there have been multiple cases of mistaken identity. We're joined now by legal analyst and criminal defense attorney Anna Yum. Welcome to Primetime, Anna.
It's always a pleasure being here, Taylor.
Okay, well, this is a really bizarre situation, this Dorner. I would like you to break it down for us, but I have to tell you, I did read the manifesto, and I do have something to say about that. So.
Absolutely. I read the manifesto, too. So this is the timeline. This is a crazy story because Christopher Dorner is an ex-LAPD officer. He's also a naval reservist, which makes him extremely dangerous because he knows about their warfare, he knows about strategy, and he knows how officers work. He was a disgruntled employee. He got fired by LAPD back in, I believe it was 2008. When he got fired, he wanted to appeal that decision, and he had a former captain of the Los Angeles Police Department, Randall Kwan, representing him in front of the board of review. And his appeal didn't work. They said, no, you're fired, right? So 5 years passed, and then all of a sudden he goes on this massive spree. He ends up targeting Randall Kwan's 28-year-old daughter, Monica Kwan, and her fiancé, and they are found dead in their car in the parking lot of their apartment in Irvine. That's on Sunday.
That is bizarre to me, that why he would target the daughter. You know, if he's really trying to, he wants to clear his name, and it's so important to his name, but he's going to go after the daughter, and that doesn't make sense.
I think what's going on with him was that was the essence of the manifesto, right? It's no one, you don't have anything unless you have your name. And I think what he was trying to do, and I'm not a psychologist, but what I think he was trying to do was inflict as much pain as possible upon the person who he thought didn't have his best interest in heart, and that was Lieutenant
who caused him pain. So
correct.
Go after the child.
Right. So he goes after the child and her fiancé, and then fast forward in Thursday, he goes after officers. He goes after Riverside officers. He goes after Los Angeles officers. Los Angeles officers are starting to shoot at innocent civilians. I mean, we're talking about a melee of just craziness going on.
It's a modern-day Rambo, a twisted Rambo.
Right, and Christopher Dorner, I mean, he's 6 feet, 250 pounds. It's not as though he can just kind of blend in with everyone else. I mean, he has managed to evade law enforcement over 24 hours. And what we found in San Diego, and this is a link to San Diego, is that they found his LAPD badge, they found his license in Lindbergh Field. They also said that he tried to rob an elderly man, an 81-year-old man, in Point Loma to try to take his boat.
But we don't know if that was him for sure yet.
Exactly.
Allegedly.
We don't know. That's alleged. And the 81, but see, what's funny is that if it really was him, he didn't hurt or he didn't kill the 81-year-old man. So, oh, thank you. So what's interesting about that is that he's targeting police officers. He's targeting law enforcement. He's not targeting innocent civilians. And that kind of goes into what's going on with his whole manifesto with LAPD.
Yeah, you know, what would this, you know, you've been on both sides of the court here, so what kind of defense would this man have at this point?
Well, you know, at this point, it's inevitable. It seems as though it would be a capital case, because at this point he's already killed one officer, attempted murder with respect to 2 additional officers, and then 2 other murders. So what we're talking about is murder with premeditation and deliberation, as evidenced by the fact that he had this manifesto and he had a target list of the people that he wanted to go after, right?
So he couldn't plead the insanity plea.
It would be a very difficult, I think it would be a very difficult defense to be able to say not guilty by reason of insanity, but of course I haven't evaluated him. And
you know what's funny, and viewers really need to hear this because I needed to hear it as well. You think, who in their right mind, with a sane mind, could take somebody else's life? You have to be whacked out. You have to be one pedal short of a bicycle, but that's not true. You can be totally sane and still be a bad person and just do evil acts.
Exactly, and what's interesting about his manifesto is that he said, you know what, I'm already dead inside. It doesn't even matter. It's not even about preservation of my life anymore, because he was clearly a man with a vengeance and he was on a rampage. And when I read his manifesto, he was articulate. I mean, he was definitely, it wasn't fragmented sentences that sounded crazy. I mean, overall, the overall essence of it was crazy, but he was able to articulate sentences and arguments. Exactly.
He was a smart man and very articulate, as you said. And also, I will tell you, that manifesto was very believable, like in what he was saying, his claims. Many people have told me, written to me, that they believe what he's saying, that all that stuff did happen within the police department.
About LAPD,
Yeah.
right? Especially when he referenced Mark Furman and some of the Rodney King situation. He was talking about some of the corruption and how unfair it is, and of course he was playing. He was talking about how he experienced racism. So when he was talking about all those things, I could understand why viewers and why people who would read it would think, wow.
Because he would back up his statements with.
Exactly, especially when he talked about that person. He was reporting his field training officer, and he said that she allegedly kicked a schizophrenic while she was arresting him. She denied it, and then at his hearing, that schizophrenic said, yes, she did kick me, and that schizophrenic's father said he complained to me that he was kicked when he was arrested by that lady. So he backs up arguments in his manifesto.
You could see police departments supporting each other and sweeping dirty laundry under the carpet.
Potentially, right? It's, you know, this is my officer, this is someone I'm going to stick
with. The blue code, whatever, the blue line, whatever they're calling it.
The blue line,
That's what it is. Anyhow, regardless, no matter how wronged he was within the LAPD, it doesn't give him an excuse to kill others. So, I mean, geez Louise. And I think that he doesn't even care about his life at this point. He just wants to be heard, and he wants everyone to know the story.
Right.
And if that means taking out lives of others and his own, then so be it.
And what's interesting, Taylor, is that it's not only him that's taking out lives. I mean, we're talking about LAPD acting and being trigger happy. They shot at unarmed civilians. One truck that they thought was his truck, they shot at 2 women. One ended up getting grazed on the hand. The other woman got shot in the back, and they say that there was no notice. Then minutes later, Torrance PD ends up shooting at another unarmed civilian, and he ended up he was fine.
But trigger happy.
Right.
Stay away from him and stay away from police officers until they find him. Oh my God.
And so the legal consequences that...
I'm joking, by the way. Joking.
The legal consequences that Christopher Dorner is looking at if he were to be found alive are horrendous. I mean, he's looking at a potential capital case, either life without the possibility of parole or the death penalty, as evidenced by the fact that, like, as I said before, premeditation, deliberation, and not only that, but special circumstances involving killing a police officer acting within the scope of his duties.
So you've been on the side where you've defended criminals, you've prosecuted them.
Right.
I mean, do you think at this point, you've been in the mind, the psyche of a criminal, do you think at this point he'll take his own life? I mean, would it be better to take his own life in his mind, or do you think he'll, you know,
that's a very
risk being arrested and having to face his punishment?
See, that's a very interesting question, because I've been thinking about that. And in my opinion, I think he's going to take his own life. He said that in his manifesto, and him being a former officer knows the potential circumstances that he's looking at in the criminal justice system. And he knows that if he's already gone this far, is it going to be either death penalty, life without the possibility of parole, or taking his own life? And I think he did mention that in his manifesto. My personal opinion, I think he is going to, but...
What are the chances that that hasn't happened already?
And that's another point. There's thousands of law enforcement officials up in Big Bear. No one can find him. It's not as though he's just vanished. What if he is? What if he has already taken his own life and he's somewhere in some house? I mean, we don't even know, and that's the scary
somewhere
thing.
in the mountains. I mean, that's a lot of area there.
Right.
Snowing.
And the problem that the officers are dealing with is that because of the snow, there's the tracks are being covered, and so they can't find exactly what direction he could have gone, because after they found his truck that was on fire, they saw some footprints that didn't really lead anywhere because of the snow and the storm that covered the track. So it's a difficult situation. This is
something out of the movies. That's so bizarre.
It is. That's what I was thinking too.
Jeez.
It sounds as though it's something out of a movie, almost Fugitive or what have you. It's crazy facts. But what's crazy to me, Taylor, is that more than 24 hours have passed, and we have tons of law enforcement officers, and he still hasn't been found.
That's why I told you it's the twisted, postmodern Rambo. I don't know.
Or maybe he's taken 5 years to plan this out, and finally he's one step ahead of everyone. Who knows? I mean, why now? Why now?
And you
after
don't think
5
at this
years?
point he can plead the insanity plea because he just, like, with all these things that happened to him, he just snapped?
They're going to have to show that he had some kind of mental disease at the time that would preclude him from being able to tell the difference between right or wrong. Now, allegedly, he sent something to Anderson Cooper saying, "I never lied," and then that souvenir with bullets in that souvenir. Now, Is that someone who can't tell the difference between right or wrong? Is that a symbolic message that he's sending if he did in fact send it? Is it more than coincidental that he went after Monica Kwan and her fiancé based upon her relationship with his former attorney? So all these puzzle pieces have to be put together, and I think with the not guilty by reason of insanity plea, the defense attorney would have to argue, you know what, he did suffer from a mental disease at the time of the killing. Not now, but at the time of the killing, that would preclude him from knowing the difference between right or wrong.
You know, and every time I see his picture, and we have it up there on the screen, you just see this happy guy. He's always smiling. He said that in the manifesto. Nobody would ever say they didn't not see him smile.
Right.
It's just so hard to believe that somebody could go this or this distance.
It is, and I think he made some kind of reference about you've wakened the sleeping giant or something to that effect. And look, yeah, he has a really nice smile, and who would have thought, right?
Yeah.
Who would have thought behind that person he'd be capable of doing what he's done so far? So.
Dark side, very dark. All right, thank you, Anna.
Thank you, Taylor.
We'll have you back on as the story develops. Thank you.
Thank you.